that everybody hears me well. No technical challenges on that.
Okay.
That's,
Sorry, Bo Maria, we have Stathis with us. Welcome,
that's
Stathis.
lovely. So
Let's.
maybe we just give him the floor, yeah?
Hello, welcome. So, Bo Maria, please, you start, and then the second intervention, as planned, will be Stathis one. So, please, Bo Maria.
Okay, lovely. So while I'm sharing my screen, I just would like to say that my name is Maria Daskalova. I am a Balkan-born person from a multicultural origin, living practically everywhere in Europe, but for the last 15 years based in Liverpool and Dublin. I chair the Irish Creative Training and Innovative Development Center, and I specifically work on project management and involving different creative methods in human rights education and management of human rights issues. So I'm going to share my entire screen now. So you could see the brief presentation I actually prepared for this event, but telling from now. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, we see your screen,
And
but
now you can see the presentation.
okay,
Okay,
exactly. Good.
okay. So I would like to start from the beginning that this is really very squeezed within the time frame that we have. So you take it as a teaser. You take it as just a brief idea of what it is, what could it be, and everything that could be done more as an introduction could be developed in one of our sessions that we organize in the Irish Creative Training Center in Dublin. We do lots of online activities, and also maybe we could do a follow-up with Alessandro at some point. Once again, thank you very much, Alessandro, for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to share this method. It's actually something that I have been personally adapting through the last 20, 25 years in my work in non-formal human rights education in more than 20 countries across Europe and North Mediterranean. So it is practically practice driven. So it is not theoretical at all. It is something that happened as a result of my practical experience as a trainer and facilitator in my work in human rights education, inclusion and democracy training, and so on. So the title that we decided to give for this event is actually giving an idea of how empowerment theater could be a tool for non-formal education and inclusion. And I don't know how to move further. Right. Excuse my helplessness in technicalities. Sometimes I just confirm the stereotype about women and equipment, which is totally the wrong thing to say. Yeah. So I just put two quotes here about applied theater, because actually empowerment theater is a type of applied theater. Very often you could hear it also as applied drama. And it's very important to outline that it has the very powerful ability to create both individual and social change. So it's also about the individual growth and the social growth at the same time, which is really unique as a tool and as a learning method. And while the classical theater is bringing a personal catharsis, all we know the ancient theory of Aristotle about the drama and the catharsis. So the classical drama is more about this kind of very intimate, very personal challenge that we face in order to grow through the drama. The applied theater is creating a social catharsis. And in the 90s, it was quite an innovative term. I remember vividly when we first started speaking about applied drama, social catharsis was something new. Now it got more of a mainstream term, so more and more of us across Europe, Africa, Latin America, and Asia, we know more about this. And most importantly, it is a tool that creates a social change through emotional learning. Um, Importantly, I also quote a very old work, almost 100 years old, of Marion Fleming about the theater that is answering the learning demands. And what is very important is that drama is part of social life, and it's something that it should be considered an education. There are so many types of educational activities that involve different aspects of applied drama, and we'll see with status also activities in prison as well, which are very elaborate and very specific chapter of the applied drama. So there are so many ways we can involve drama in formal and non-formal education. What is the input going to be about? As I already mentioned, it's going to be really, really brief and serving as an appetizer, but still, it's focusing only on one of the many methods that have been adopted uh, through the theater of the oppressed, through the applied drama techniques, and it's something I've been calling empowerment theater. And this is something that is transforming the theory of the theater of the oppressed of Augusto Boal, because I personally sensed that participants don't like to talk so much of the oppression as they would like to feel empowered. So we called it empowerment theater, and it also gives this positive vibe that change is possible. And it's not only personal growth and personal change, but it's also the social change, because empowerment theater is actually focusing on group challenges that we need to address together. So I outlined 5 key points that my presentation is structured about. Of course, it was very challenging how to focus only on 5 aspects, but I do believe that those could be very good starting point if you're a novice in empowerment theater or in applied drama, just to get a grasp of what is the process about and how could you eventually use it. So first, briefly, I'm going to talk about the concept of empowerment theater, where it is, what it is based on, the foundations, starting from Brecht through the pedagogy of the oppressed of Freire and the theater of the oppressed of Boal. Then a couple of words of the methodological aspects. Then what kind of practical applications could applied drama in general and empowerment theater in particular could have in your work as non-formal educators or as social workers or youth workers, you name it. And last but not least, very important to mention that those methods are very adaptable and very multiplicable. So it's not written on stone, it's quite flexible because it's a creative technique, and it's up to you as a facilitator to be able to adapt according to the learning needs of the communities and the specific learners you're working with in order to make it really useful for your training needs and the learning needs of your groups. So let's start. I'm starting with the concept, squeezing a whole big material of thousands of pages of research before we came to crystallize to what is this empowerment theater concept. So, as I already mentioned a couple of times already, it is an applied drama method. And it's an empowering participatory adult learning experience. Many of you already know that participatory is the key word in adult learning experience. Searching for social change, so we say not only personal growth is actually less important than the group growth, the social change, when we speak to about empowerment theater and applied drama, while mobilizing communities to take collective action for local solutions and positive community development. So it is very specifically focusing on the local needs of the community. I'm going to talk further a little bit about that because this is one of the key points of empowerment theater. Then, of course, as I already mentioned, we want to focus not so much on the oppression, but on how we transfer oppression into empowering experience. So, how we do it? We rehearse real life problems and we search together for their social solutions. And that brings participants beyond the emotional catharsis of the classical drama, as I already mentioned. So, we already have first Brecht and then Freire and Boal transforming the idea of the oppression into empowerment. And then, last but not least, again, the social catharsis when the oppressed are turned into empowered in search for both personal growth and community cohesion. That's what makes the applied drama in general and empowerment theater in particular very, very specific and very unique, and therefore very useful when it comes to adult training that is seeking to address not just personal challenges, not just personal growth, but also community challenges. Foundations. I just had space only for two pictures. I would put much more, but that would come next. These are the two fathers, both Brazilian, of the modern theater of the oppressed and now empowerment theater. You see on the upper picture is Paulo Freire with his pedagogy of the oppressed, and then at the bottom is Augusto Boal. But of course, we have to start first with the pioneer, the real breakthrough of changing the idea about theater, about drama, and it's Bertolt Brecht, who focuses on the vital roles that theater could play to change situations, to change communities towards the better. And then Freire, with his very in depth and very academic theory on the pedagogy of the oppressed, who is focusing on the need for oppressed individuals to abandon their objectified position and fight for liberations as human beings, working a lot on education as a tool for oppression, being transformed towards a tool for liberation and a tool for empowerment. That's why I thought it's very important to talk about Freire here. And for any of you who needs more information, I will be there to send and even if needed to talk about it, because this is actually one of the general theoretical frameworks of empowerment education and empowerment training. That's Freire, and we can't do this drama without this kind of academic insights that he had. And last but not least, but probably the central figure in this developing these tools is the famous Augusto Boal. Again, as I said, he was a Brazilian director who turned the drama into a very, very social experience. He was also a Nobel Prize laureate, and he has been working a lot with UNESCO in lots of UNESCO projects and activities, transforming communities through using the tools of theater of the oppressed. And as you know, one of the most famous types of theater of the oppressed is forum theater. I'm going to explain a little bit more about the specific method of the forum theater on which we also based our applied drama techniques or empowerment theater, because they're actually containing the essence of transformation, which is key to empowerment. About the method, as I said, applied drama methodology, which is a unique amalgam of participatory and inclusive techniques that create a space for dialogue, very important. So this kind of social togetherness, this kind of social cohesion is based on dialogue and of course on social exclusion and exploration. Of course, that also involves self-exploration, but exploration together on solving community issues is key here. Empowerment theater, once again, does not focus on performance on fiction, but on real life solutions. The performers are called spectators. So, classically we have spectators. But here, Boal, in his book Games for Actors and Non-Actors, coined a very key term, which is called spect actors. So you are a spectator on the other hand, on one hand, but then you're actor on the other hand. You're both. This is a fluid role in which you switch from one role to another in order to work together in a very cooperative and dialogical manner with your peers, with your colleagues, friends, neighbors, in order to solve a social community challenge that is very important for you. So you are turned from a passive person, receiver of oppression, into an active spectator who works together with everybody else to solve problems. This is how you are empowered, in a position to change the outcome of the drama, the dramatic situation, with your own actions, which is practically the most important aspect of the method. Here, I would like to mention, in case you want to interrupt me for a question or clarification, please let me know within the presentation, just raise your hand, put your mic in, and talk to me, because I'm aware that sometimes I get carried away, especially when I'm excited about the topic. And it is good to let me know that we need to stop and explain further. Thank you for this. Okay, I put a couple of pictures, and one is a picture from Japan in the University of Tokyo when people rehearse in academic settings. So this is a proof that it could be also involved in formal education. A forum theater about a case of violence in the campus. So they try to solve their own campus issues using applied drama and the methods of Augusto Boal in campus. And the other one is one of the last sessions of Boal before he died in 2007 in New York. It's in New York Library, and there are a few hundred people present. It's really a very mass session that he has, and it shows how many people could be involved at the same time in a very active manner to participate and try to work together on an issue that they would like to solve. Okay, just a brief visualization. Then, of course, very importantly, all of us who work with people, who work as facilitators, trainers, researchers who do also field work, it's very important to know what would be the practical application of this kind of empowerment theater method. And I just outlined 4 key points. The first one is to discover and learn. And I would like to emphasize that, of course, mostly in non formal learning settings, but also we see for the last 10, 15 years more and more countries involve it also in formal learning settings, in formal learning environment. And of course, pioneering, as usual, are the Scandinavian countries that sometimes have it even in some subjects everyday curriculum as a tool to solve everyday learning challenges, or not just learning challenges but challenges within the learning community, which is actually very healthy and very important for the emotional well-being of those learning communities. So we see that this is a process in the making. It is happening, it's invading the formal learning environment, and that's brilliant. Of course, once again, predominantly a non-formal learning environment too. Second, it is about exploring issues of concern of local communities, mobilizing two main tools that we already know: learning by doing, because you actively participate in the learning process with this, and very importantly, emotional learning methods. Okay. Third, it's to identify problems and actively rehearse solutions. So, rehearsing solution is coming as a process of acting. So, when spectators jump into the scene and become actors, they're searching together with the actors from the communities how to solve the problem by dramatizing it and acting it out. And at the end of my presentation, I have a couple of videos that will show you visually, practically, how it is actually happening. And of course, there are many more materials that we could watch and see, because here is just an explanation, but then you have to see the making of this process, and you will be probably surprised how easy and spontaneous it is, and that there is practically no need for any of the participants in this process, neither the facilitator nor the participants, to be actors or directors or somebody who has any previous education or practice in classical theater as we know it. And what is very interesting and even funny in a way is that Augusto Boal himself has this very famous quote saying that anybody could do forum theater, even the actors. So that says a lot about the method and about how egalitarian it is and how popular it is. So these dramatized settings are actually playing out once again to emphasize the problem, and we play it out as many times as it takes until we solve it. So we play one act first with the actors, and we have only once a fixed setting of actors and spectators. Once everybody finds out what is the problem, the next step is that the spectators invade the scene in a very proactive and inclusive manner, and they become spectators, as Augusto Boal says it. And being spectators, they replace specific actors, they try playing the scene in a way that we eliminate the oppression and we turn it into empowerment. So we try to solve the problem by acting it out. And my experience says that sometimes we have to act out a problem in the community 10 times, maybe more, before we solve it. And it's not tiring. People keep asking me, like, isn't it becoming really boring and tiring to do it again and again? The answer is no, because this is not a classical artistic product. This is actually a community solving their own problems together. They're so emotionally involved, they're so taken that for them, this is not something they're passively watching. They're actively participating in it. That's why it is not really boring to anyone. It takes as long as it takes. But we always find a way at the end, and we find it together. And you find it with the active involvement of everybody who is concerned. So, once again, it also involved the famous phrase, nothing about us without us. So, this problem is about us, and we are not going to solve it without us. We are going to be active participants in the problem solving. And that's wonderful. And that's what makes people so inspired to do it again and again. And of course, last but not least, just to summarize and make it more general and fundamental, to provoke and shape social change with the active participation of all community members. Important, it's about all. Also, children. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures about children, school children taking part of it because child rights and child involvement are real things. They're not just a concept written on book. Okay. So that's also about everyone without any discrimination, all community members taking part, and they act towards the change, shape the change according to their own needs. Okay, so this is a wide range of practical applications, and it could sound like a huge challenge, but the process, trust me, is more natural than it looks, and it's really really spontaneous. So the flow goes really easy when you click the right nerve. So no limits of application, as I said, and I wanted to show you these two pictures. The picture on the right is showing um, Theater of the Oppressed, specifically forum theater session, which is done spontaneously, first started as an invisible theater in one of the streets of Delhi. And people are unprepared. They didn't come specifically for this. They were just passing by and they saw a man abusing a woman, and then all of a sudden they started to get involved into the conflict, into the situation of oppression, until they solved it. You see, so it's very spontaneous. They were just walking by, threw their bikes around, and started participating. And the other one is in Nigeria, and there is a school issue that involves parents, teachers, and students, and they're acting out the situation together with everyone, trying to solve it once again. So it's not about specific resources. It's not about money. It's not about being able to read and write. It's not about having special education specifically, but for that, it's nothing to do with it. It's about spontaneously being egalitarian, inclusive, participatory, and open to all the capacity that all humans have in order to solve their own social problems. Of course, last point, but of course not least, because it's really important to all of us, is can I take this method to my own practice? Is it really adaptable? Or maybe I can just multiply the ready method. I don't need to adapt it, I just multiply it and I use it. And these are very good news because the answer is yes. The empowerment theater method offers a unique potential to be adapted to almost any adult learning situation. I'm saying almost because there's so many specificities, there's so many unique contexts in which there could be some little obstacles, but in general, it is so wide that I would say that almost any time you could be able to use it in adult learning settings. And I already said sometimes even in formal education. The key point is that this situation should allow the groups to act together for common problem solution. So you, as a facilitator, if you want to learn how to use it, that should be one of your key indicators. Second, the tool of applied drama for empowerment are easy to use, as I already advertised a few times, to adapt and to multiply in a wide range of learning settings, in communities, in social context, and in cultural contexts. And of course, you always have to keep your cultural sensitivity. You always have to know what is the specific context and how you would like to adopt it. But then again, it takes a thoughtful facilitator who knows their group and their needs in order to do it. So you don't need to be a theater expert, but you need to be a well prepared facilitator. So it is up to the facilitators to address the social, cultural, educational, and very importantly, emotional context in order to offer the most suitable adaptation of the method so it can serve best the learning and the social needs of the community that is involved. So once again, they're not only learning needs. Here, with the applied drama, we address the social needs, which is really important. I have two links. One of them is actually guidelines from colleagues that are using forum theater. Unfortunately, we still did not prepare our tutorial in the Irish Creative Training Center, but we promise that within the next few months we will have our own tutorial for trainers how to organize an empowerment theater session. So this one is more generally about theater of the oppressed and forum theater of Augusto Boal, but this is extremely useful for beginners because the first link is actually showing you what kind of group size could you have, what kind of preparation do you need, what kind of main points you should consider, and then it shows you some small videos of how do they do it in very simple settings. And the second one is rehearsing a real challenge in Africa, and I selected this link because it actually shows how simple, useful, and useful this method could be in any kind of settings. So I'm actually not sure if you would have the time to watch these videos. Maybe
No,
after.
I would say, Bo Maria, we can anyway. We will upload this PowerPoint presentation
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
website of T-HAP. So I would keep it as a resource, extra resource for everybody to view. And yeah, you want to go for a final closure
yes, yes.
sentence? Yes, please.
I know this was really galloping through a very big and very serious topic, but I hope I have inspired you to get curious at least about it. Um, I put the link of our Theatre of the Empowerment page in the Irish Creative Training Center. You could take a look at some resources that we offer there. And of course, if you have any specific questions at the bottom, there is also my email. You could write me and I can provide further information about this. Once again, thank you very much to Alessandro and T-HAP for having me here. It's a real pleasure to be able to share my experience and insights on that. And thank you for taking your time to listen to me.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you for the passion and this, let's say, very large introduction on how theater becomes a change makers in society, nevertheless on individuals, okay, and how this type of theatrical applied theater doesn't follow necessarily specific rules, but can be really interpreted also on to a large extent with groups of people, with larger groups of people. So thank you very much. And this gives me now the chance to move the floor to Stathis Grapsas, who will tell us more about the personal development workshop for prisoners, which is the context and the methodology which he's working on and applying. Please, Stathis, allow yourself to give a couple of words about your personal presentation so that we can absolutely understand more your background, and then feel free to share your PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, thank you, Alessandro. Thank you for the invitation, and T-HAP for hosting this webinar. I do apologize for being late joining. I'm on Greek time. Now, although I didn't want to say that, it's important, and I stress it always, to be on time, especially with the groups that I work with. So the personal development workshop for prisoners is exactly what it states, and that is a meeting with incarcerated people. And when we apply the drama, the techniques, the specifics of drama to a new setting, everything Bo Maria, and I thank her for her presentation and everything she introduced, takes a practical effect, and we give the oppressed the sense of empowerment. Starting the PDWP back in 2010, my first question I asked was, who do I want to support? Who doesn't have a voice? And that was when I came across the juvenile prison in Avlona, just outside of Athens, about 50 kilometers. So as an artist, and being aware of the social situation, which needs and requires multiple voices and people to be heard, I offered a workshop which developed into the PDWP, initially to the young boys, initially to the youth prison of Avlona. Now, today's presentation, I don't want to drag on the intro, today's presentation is about the application of the personal development workshop, specifically in the psychiatric prison of Korydallos. That's the main prison in Athens, but the psychiatric unit of it. Now, as one could appreciate, the whole setting is a therapeutic setting. It's not just being incarcerated. There's a whole therapeutic aspect to their incarceration due to their diagnosis, which is required and needs our attention. Bo Maria mentioned the process being a long process. I'll just let people know here, each performance, we're going to look at 3 specific examples of performances in the psychiatric prison. Each performance in this facility took 2 years in the making. That's 2 years where everybody had to be heard, everybody's voices had to be documented and noted, and all their situation, their stability, their sense of being in the moment, which is affected by many aspects, their medication, what's going on with their trial and whatever. We'll see that in a video, all the details. Just makes this process longer, and we have to just be more patient and listen. So let me start by sharing my screen. Yeah. Alessandro, I'm doing this, yes?
Yes, you are doing it. Yes, you're doing it. So, yeah.
So I'm going to share my screen for everyone to see. It's a table which just briefly notes all the prisons the PDWP is currently operational. So I'll just go with share screen. You do see my screen?
Yes, we see a list of folders right now, yes.
Okay, so this is the table. I do apologize, I am not as tech savvy as I would like to be, but I think I will manage. So this is the personal development workshop for prisoners in a nutshell of where it is actually active at the moment. So just scrolling through, the first is the Avlona Detention Center, where it first started. You can see the performances and the dates there. It's an active workshop. There's 15 young males there between 18 to 21. The group at the moment is all of Arab descent. The second is the psychiatric prison. That's what we'll be talking about. The 3 performances are the titles you see in yellow. 2019, 2022, 2024, we'll see a PowerPoint presentation specifically with those performances. Still an active group, seven participants. The Detox Center for Prisoners with Substance Abuse in Thebes. This is a center that will be presenting something on Saturday. It's a work in progress piece. But again, very niche, just as a psychiatric prison is. It's a niche market. It is incarcerated people. They are with substance abuse issues. So just to scroll down and not delay the video, we want to see the juvenile section in the Corinth prison. That is closed. This was for juveniles between 15 to 18 years of age, as you can see in the table. The female prison of Thebes, still an active workshop, 20 participants. Recently had the performance Golden Truth in November. So as you can see, the PDWP has actually managed to present over 13 or so prototype performances. I say prototype because they were co-created with the members, and it's all based on their participation. It's not the classical drama that Bomari did mention in passing. It is actually on hands applying what they bring to the table. And that is the liberating part of it, the empowering part of it, because they talk about themselves. There are two pilot runs that were happening, one that have occurred, one in Larissa, one in Ceres, and the workshop in Chania in Crete that is still operational by a local volunteer. So that is, in a nutshell, what the work where the PDWP is active. So what I'd like to do now is show you a small video just to break up the forms in which I'd like to make the presentation. And this is the video created with the Social Security's Office of the Psychiatric Prison. So it's a 7-minute video. I'm trying to keep all the important elements of working with this particular group of prisoners in made available. So let me just go to the beg your pardon. Let me go to the video.
Stuff is not to make your life even more difficult, but the visualization of the people in the group is for us a black rectangular. So if you can minimize the visualization of the participants, at least we see everything big enough, because there is like a black vertical rectangular on the right side.
Is that better? Is that better? I'm
trying no, in reality not. I don't know why. Okay, now it's better. If you can make it even smaller or take it out of your screen, so make it even smaller. So that's great.
Yeah, like that, like so.
Okay, close that with an X.
I'm getting a delay on the okay.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's the best I can do at the moment.
Okay, you run your video, so please.
So let's go to the I'm still sharing my screen, correct?
Yes, we see a list of folders now, yes.
Okay, this is the video.
Okay, we see good practice guide. I guess that's what you want to show us. We see just screenshots, Stathis. We don't see the video running.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen, but you don't see the video.
We see screenshots of the video, so not the video itself, but just skipping from 1 second to 20 seconds later.
Has anything changed, Alessandro?
No, the frame is still. Now we have another frame, but it's just still. That is, we just see frames.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop the video. I do apologize. I don't know. I've sent this material to Erin. I thought it'd be easy if it was shared by the screen there for obvious reasons. My Zoom meetings is not responding, so this is a bit frustrating. I'm just trying to get my share screen back and go into the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
I will talk.
I think we lost now Stathis completely. Okay, so what I would suggest while he's coming back, hopefully, if there are questions for Bo Maria at this point, or comments or any reaction to her presentation while we are waiting for Stathis to come back, hopefully. I would like to ask a question, a very, very basic question. Bo Maria, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, of course, I'm listening.
Okay, so in many cases, the way you presented it, I had the sensation that this theatrical application, this drama application, could resemble a little bit like a huge role playing. Okay, so I would like to ask you, what is actually the difference from a role playing, an extended role playing, where we ask people to, I don't know, identify with a role or act according to a specific role, compared to the drama, applied drama theater?
Thank you. I think that's a very good question, and many people wonder about it. So let's straight it up here. The difference is the solution. Like the role play is very often offering a problem. But in the theater of the empowered, you do not stop until people feel empowered with a solution. So, as I say, we rehearse a real situation and we don't stop playing until we act it out solved. So, yes, a role play is actually very similar as a tool. It involves very similar methodology up to the point that it does not really offer, not necessarily offer a solution. If it starts acting out the solution, it turns into empowerment theater. So they're very similar, They use similar acting tools, but in the role play, we don't have spectators change into spectators. And that, I would say, is the main difference. Did
And
I
what
manage
is
to answer?
Yes, I would like to add next question. What is the difference between the two facilitators of these two approaches?
So Boal calls them jokers. So it's a very, very specific role. He brings it back to medieval times. But in role play, there is no facilitator. There is a facilitator only in giving tips and guidelines of how to prepare. While with the applied drama, there is a facilitator that is guiding the process through rehearsing the reality again and again until we solve it. So it's actually much more intense for the facilitator in the empowerment theater, and the responsibility is really bigger because you're supposed to produce a change. And that's a really, really big responsibility.
Okay, thank you. Stathis, are you with us?
I am.
Okay.
I'm actually on my phone. So, yeah, it's just one of these things. I suppose. I do apologize. All the
No
material,
problem.
my presentation is already available.
Okay.
And I'd like to just, with the little time I have, talk about the three performances of the personal development workshop in the psychiatric prison. The first was Marble Time. This is something that you will see in the material. Now, Marble Time was the first discussion we had with the group regarding the effects of their medication and their incarceration in the specific facility. It takes quite a bit of courage to actually talk about what the effects can be. And because a lot of the medication is heavy medication, this creates a slowing down of the mental operation. The body becomes slower, even to the point where it seems like people are immobile. They're not moving. It is an unfortunate side. It is amazing to see these people affected by the medication to this extent. And yet they still come to the workshop and overcome this effect. It's not only the medication they have to overcome; it's also their state of being, the fact that they've been diagnosed with psychiatric disorders. There's a lot to overcome, and yet their participation is exemplary regarding the fact that they want to speak, they want to contribute. It's not just a matter of learning. And also the fact that they write the material, learn the material, goes totally against what the medication does. The medication actually stops the memory. It makes it difficult for them to memorize. And yet here they are participating in the theatre and memorizing lines. So Marble Time was about talking about the effects of the medication and how they become something like statues. People not famous. This is the whole concept of the play. Again, this PowerPoint is made available. Just everyday people, a pilot, a public servant, a postman, a waitress, they become statues because there is an element that's missing from their lives. And that element was they weren't loved. They weren't given the attention they needed as people. So slowly over time, they gradually became stone. They became like statues. Until someone comes along and reads poetry. We use poetry and reading of poetry to liberate them from this state of being, from this marbled state. So that was Marble Time. I'm not going to go into too much on each player. I do want to be in the time frame. Again, I can only apologize for the technical problems I have. But again, all the material is made available. From the video that I tried to share, the PowerPoint presentation, and even the notes per performance. So the second performance, 2 years later, Merarhias 43. Merarchias is a street down in a ex-red light district in Piraeus, in the Truba district. Now, one would ask, but what's that got to do with prisoners? Well, one of the members of the group actually researched all that era, the 40s, the 50s, about how things would operate in this red light district. And said he had this whole, research project down on his own based on actual facts. And the interesting element here was, how did we sort of put it all together with everything else they brought into the table, the other members of the group? And one said, I want to be a journalist. I want to be a bit totally unrelated. But that's the whole idea of being the facilitator, putting everything together and making it, everyone voicing their opinion. And it is a social element. We are talking about women, and specifically that era in the red light district. Women were more respected. There were actual relationships with the persons that were, overseeing the security of the facilities. It wasn't as blatantly as it is today, as far as taking advantage of people in this line of work. We focused on that. There was no female presence in the whole play. We only heard a female voice. And the whole play was emphasized that the decision to move on from an old era to the new age, and what we gain and what we lose. So the person who was in charge of this last red house in the red light district kept saying, but I don't want things to change. But yes, we must move on to change and accept it, embrace it, only if it was for the benefit of everybody involved. So at the core of each performance, we are talking about the human existence, the self. I will go on to talk about Time Out. Time Out is the title of the third performance we did with the psychiatric prison. That was only recently in May, end of May. So only a month ago. Time Out, as we hear the actual title, is exactly what prison is. It's a time out for them. Time out away, time out being punished, time out away from everything they know as being people they know, their surroundings and whatever. And time out is the time I have to think about my situation, to actually examine what I need and what I don't need, to examine why am I being given a time out. So we actually created something based on their experience, but also added in the imagination, and took 8 people to another planet. They actually traveled to another planet, and this is where they had to do their time out. So as in their prison setting, medication, food, and shelter are catered for. So in this third performance, all they had to do is examine and analyze how they felt, what they needed to keep with them, and what they need to get rid of, so they can be able to progress and move on in life. It's something actually I think we all should be doing, and that is assessing what we need to keep and what we don't need, so we can move on, so we can progress, so we can develop as human beings. It is the personal development workshop for prisoners. Everything is tied back to the individual, empowering the individual who is initially oppressed to sense that, you know what, I have a voice, I am being heard, this is liberating for me. And all these performances, I'm just going to mention something that Maria did touch on, actually are a mirror, lifting a mirror to the audience and provoking this social catharsis, this social skepticism about where are we going actually. And why? Because we put it into perspective that these guys who have lost their freedom, the pinnacle of all elements a human needs to sense, the most important thing a human needs to sense, Dostoevsky actually mentioned the prisoners or people who have been incarcerated are actually people on a higher level, because they have actually sensed what it is to sacrifice the freedom that everybody has. So this gives them the opportunity to examine and analyze what they need and what they don't need. So time out. Eventually, they have their time out in prison, beg your pardon, on a planet, which is their prison. 8 of them go, 4 of them come back, because the reality is that each will leave and go to prison and go back into society in their own time, when they're ready. I'm going to close, and please allow me just a minute, Alessandro. I do realize we are out of time.
Yeah, sure, please.
Considering the circumstance, I'm trying to do the best I can.
Please, feel free.
I'm just going to read a small extract of sort of put together, and this was at the end of the PowerPoint presentation, which you will all have.
Mm-hmm.
The Personal Development Workshop for prisoners in the psychiatric prison of Corridalos has a very niche and very specific role. The participation of prisoners in this center in various programs is not a simple matter, taking into account the environment they are housed in. Stability and consistency of the Personal Development Workshop for prisoners for the prisoner patient is important. Through the process of participating in the theatre group, they express their own personal issues and concerns. Their self-esteem is strengthened. They cultivate social skills. They face the negative consequences of institutionalization, and they are strengthened in their gradual social integration and in their treatment. My closing statement will simply be that in a lot of the times that I rehearse with them, I meet them on a weekly basis, as I meet all the groups on a weekly basis. There have been people that work in the psychiatric prison, in the social services office, psychiatrists, psychologists, who say that their therapy is assisted by their participation in the PDWP. Recently, someone shared with me that in other countries, therapy, drama, has actually been included in people's therapy because it's such a liberating force. Bo Maria pretty much covered all that, the reasons why we see this happening. I see it on a daily basis with the incarcerated groups I work with. And it actually gives me a lot of perspective on the fact that sometimes we become less empowered in our own lives. And yet these people can show us what it means to take advantage of a moment and really, really highlight the strength of the human spirit when given the chance. I'll end it there. Thank you very much for your time. I do apologize for all the technical problems I've had. Again, all material of my presentation is available for everyone who has joined us. Alessandro, thank you very much for the invitation and for T-HAP for hosting. Hopefully you will invite me back again, regardless of what.
No, don't worry, Stathis. Absolutely. I mean, we regret the fact that we didn't have the possibility to see even visuals of this, but just the hot and passionate knowledge on your side and application of what you're doing on a daily basis. I leave the floor open for some minutes for any question, also especially for Stathis, since we had the chance to ask a couple of questions to Bo Maria. So if there is any question, otherwise I might have one, and if so, then we go towards closure. So for those who are still here, if there is a question, I'll leave a minute. Actually, I might ask you a very awkward question, Stathis, because with Stathis, we met, I think, 12 years ago, something like that, on the island of Hydra, where he was training teachers in using theatrical activities
Schools.
to be applied in school education. Okay, that's at least the context. Okay, so my question is, since you know theater and you have applied it in so many different contexts, is do these applications develop the concept of theater, which we have learned in the ancient times, or theater which we have in mind as an entertainment on one hand and as a cultural activity? How these applications, which Bo Maria has presented and the ones you are applying on a daily basis, how do they develop the concept of theater, of playing, in your view?
I'm going to sort of mention something regarding playing, the difference between playing theatre, yeah, and participatory involvement, which is a distinct difference between I play a part, a role I'm not, to get to express something, and the all the performance of the PDWP. And what I advocate is not to perform, it's not to play something I'm not. It's something, again, this is something that we heard before. It's more effective for me to say that have the courage to get up on stage and share what you are personally and really about. Now, the biggest challenge for anyone, director, facilitator, when staging something with a group of amateur performers, whether they're marginalized groups as far as like prisoners go, or not students aren't marginalized by no means, actors with some kind of that are mentally challenged or physically different or able. The whole concept becomes, how do I make them perform, but up to the point where they don't lose themselves? Now, actors, professional actors, are skilled, trained people who must perform a part, must actually convince us they are someone else. I do not want a prisoner to convince me he's someone else. The fact that they are in prison is because they already had considered themselves someone beyond society, someone who does not have to adhere to social norms and laws. And we're portraying this part that they're really not. So the PDWP does not enforce a heightened ego, if you like, about I'm now performing. It's all about a group activity, social inclusion, dynamics of the group must be developed, respect for the human being a priority, discipline and responsibility, and simply there to feel good about sharing what I'm about. The difference that I see today in any form of third sector theatre, schools, anything beyond the professional theatre, is that we like to perform. We just want to perform and song and dance, and on a very one-dimensional level, if you like. I will say it. I will provoke a discussion if anyone is keen. I think the times we are living in are more alarming, and things that art has to say and talk about should be beyond entertainment. It should be beyond. It should actually. Well, here are my notes on Bo Maria's talk. It should be about social catharsis, social change. It should be about awakening the audience and saying, "Guys, we have to do something. We have to do something about the status quo, about what is going on." The fact that these groups are incarcerated makes us listen to them, because all of a sudden a lot of people are saying the same thing. The news, the people that are on, that have the floor usually. Sometimes it makes a difference who is actually speaking to us, who we are listening to. So it's good to, when we listen to them, for them to have something different to say, something that will affect me as a member of society. And not just for me to go away, oh, that was another great theatre performance. Well, what theatre is there's so many aspects to it. And I think, again, everything that's going on in the world is a shock. And we should not let it, our immune systems not feel it. We should be shocked with what's going on across the world, everywhere, even in our local communities, to the West Bank and Ukraine and the whole lot of it. And not only, these are just things that the media are feeding us. Because an actor, an artist today is someone who is socially alert. It's someone who someone is there to give people a voice, to voice issues about humanity. There are plenty of humans and human beings, humanity is missing. So I think that is the key difference to why working with marginalised groups, with prisoners in my situation, is so important for me, and to always include the element of what's going on beyond us, and not, I am now performing something I am not. I did go around it a lot, but I hope I covered your question, yes, Alessandro.
Thank you, that is absolutely.
I have a question too, if I may.
Yeah.
If there is anyone who is willing to give me an online seminar on how to use the Zoom platform, please reply.
Okay.
The material is there, again, for everyone.
Listen, we will put this at disposal, including the video of this workshop and the PowerPoint presentation. And we will come up also, because we will share this information afterwards on our social media. So all the people who have connected some way, somehow to this webinar are going to be around. Okay, if there is no more feedback or reaction, I would say we can stop here. We have taken enough time. This is actually the last one, the last infusion webinar before the summer. So we're going to plan as of September a new series, always related to education with an eye on well-being, obviously. And in case, Bo Maria, you were mentioning something, we could think of it. Absolutely. Let's discuss and talk about it. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I can quote Yanis. Thank you, Yanis, for being here with us today. Sophia, who's still connected. Definitely thank you, Bo Maria and Stathis, for this valuable and precious insight you have shared with us on a topic which personally for me is quite new and also quite challenging. Thank you so much and have a good rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye and have a nice holidays.
Thank you, Maria and Stathis. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Bye, Yannick. Ciao.